Dino Diner. This is a game where players take on the role of prehistoric diner owners. They're trying to feed their customers, but at the same time, there are giant dinosaurs roaming the land and trying to attack the diners and to eat the food and the customers. So it's a pretty funny, pretty humorous idea. Although I've heard that in Kentucky they use this game to teach science and history, so that's weird. I kid. So Dino Diner, we have a board here that we used to play several decks of cards. We have the dinosaurs that will attack the diners. They have their own track. As you can see, they're really cool because these are huge game pieces, but maybe too big for their own good, which means you have to make sure that you decide what part of the dino counts as in the space. The way we do it is the front foot, so that would be the dino is there. But again, it gets a little tight, and so from time to time, just by looking at it, you don't know necessarily in which space that dino is, so you have to check, I guess it's in that space. So I like the idea of the ginormous dinos, but production-wise, sometimes it gets a little bit in the way of gameplay. Then we have a track here where we place our restaurant owners, and as you feed your customers, each customer that you feed will move you one space up on this track. If you reach the space number 7 and you're the only player there at the end of the turn, then you win the game. If there are multiple players there, then there are tiebreakers. And also each player, on top of having that token there, has a matching player aid that helps you track the number of actions that you have each turn. Each turn, each player can take up to 3 actions, so you can rotate this one to indicate how many actions you have left. But in truth, these actions are so quick that we just, keep counting. 1, 2, 3, done. The other side shows the same diner owner still busy doing their thing, like this guy angrily taking notes, while their diner is destroyed. If the dinosaurs attack, there are several ways in which you can fend off the attack. If you fail to fend off the attack entirely, then you flip the tile to this side. If at any point at the end of a round of attacks from the dinos, everybody but one player has their dino destroyed, then the last diner standing wins the game. The owner of the last diner standing wins the game. Which pretty much means if you play with 2 players, if one diner is destroyed and the other one isn't, then that player wins the game immediately. So these are the 2 ways in which you can win the game, by having the last diner standing or 7 points. Now, at the beginning of each turn, you will draw 7 cards from this deck that represents the technologies, the resources that you use to hunt for food. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There you go. And then you will draw 7 cards from this deck. Or you may have to draw more. You have to draw until there is a line of 7 non-dinosaur cards here, because if you draw a card with a dinosaur, then you discard it immediately and you move the corresponding dino by 1 space on their track. Again, as you can see, I need to make sure that I know where that is. And so you keep drawing. This one is not a dinosaur, so it goes here. So you keep drawing and possibly moving those dinosaurs until there are 7 cards here. Oh, the red T-Rex is going to advance by 1 space. And just to keep it quick, we're going to do it this way. See? Lots of advances. When a dinosaur, because of the effect of these cards, moves to the attack space up there, it's bad. A player owns the fire token, which is also the first player token, and that player is the first player to get attacked. I should also mention that you will have customers during the game, and these are sitting next to your tile, and the customer can be happy. It doesn't look that way, but the symbol tells us the customer is happy, or hungry, or starving. It doesn't matter how long they stay starving, that doesn't really, kick them out. They can still stay there for as long as, as a game effects, until game effects strike. But the idea is that this is a starting customer, and some customers will have bonuses printed here, and usually the bonus is reduced when the customer is hungry and is non-existent when the customer is starving. So that's simply what Those three orientations do. So we're talking about the attack. When the attack arrives, there are three possible ways for you to fend off the attack. One is you discard half of your customers, rounded up, and that's just it. You feed them to the, like a responsible diner owner, you feed your customers to dinosaurs. Or if you own food cards of the type that the attacking dinosaur likes, red with red, green with green, and purple with the pterodactyl. Then if you have, again, food cards of the corresponding color, you discard all of the food cards of that kind, you get into the dino, and that also makes the dino happy. Later, you may be able to find in the deck cards that are called decoy cards, and if you discard a decoy card matching the attacking dinosaur, you're off, you're okay. Again, if none of those options are available to me, my diner is destroyed. But suppose I did fend off the attack, remember I'm the player with the fire because the player with the fire gets attacked first. At that point, after I did fend off an attack, successfully have a choice. I can choose to retain the fire and draw a card, and so that's a resource, or I can choose to share the fun and share the pain, which is I give the fire token to another player who gets attacked then, and just like I did, has to fend off the attack in one of those ways that I told you, or their dino is destroyed. Which means you can choose again to be the only one who is attacked, or to cause the place to be attacked at the cost of you're not drawing a card and you're giving them the first player's token. So that's for fending off the attacks of the dinos, and after that then the dinosaur goes back to its initial thingy, and also all of these cards are shuffled back into the deck of resources. So after we reveal 7 technologies and 7 food cards and possibly resolve dino attacks, it's time for our players to take their 3 actions. Those actions can be that you collect the technology card, as simple as that. I take it, that's it, done. One action. And that's another action. That's why I told you that the action can be very quick. Or one of the actions can be to collect a food card, in which case I need to spend technology cards to pay either of the costs printed on top, not both. And so, for example, I could spend an action to discard a net value 3, and I will be able to collect the puffer fish because I have the right symbol and the value that I discard is equal to or higher than what you see here. And that's it. I collect the fish and I put it in my cooking area. So cards that represent food have a type. Again, seafood, vegetables, or meat. Have a cost that I need to spend to acquire the card. I also have a number here, which is the number of units that the card is worth. If there is a symbol, the symbol of a pentagon there at the bottom, that means 5. So basically this condor here, condor ribs, who doesn't like those? Best barbecue. Condor here gives me 3, or vulture, gives me 6 units of food. This one is pretty big, gives me 12 units of food. In order to cook, that actually I can take, collect technology, collect food spending technology, or cook. In order to cook, they really like to have dishes that have a little bit of everything. To cook, I need to have a symbol of each kind. Each dish in this game has some seafood, some meat, and some vegetables. So I need to have a type of food of each kind, of all 3, and a total of at least 10 units of food. And that would feed 1 customer. If I follow the rules of at least 1 of each kind, but I have at least 20 units of food, then I could feed 2 customers. If I have 30 units, then I could feed 3, and so on and so forth. And so suppose, for example, that I have enough. I haven't counted, but I'm gonna throw a bunch of other cards, so that should work. So that, even without counting, that tells me I can definitely feed 2 customers. I could even feed 3, for example. Suppose I do have 3, but I decide to feed only 2. What? When you feed your customers, if they're not happy, then they become happy. And that shows you, for example, the bonuses. This one, when happy, gives you +2 baskets when collecting food. When hungry, only 1. When starving, 0. So all the customers that you feed will go back to being well fed and happy. If you do not feed all of your customers when you cook, then the customers that you have not fed leave and you have to discard them. And sometimes that's just the way it is. Also, other people's customers, they smell the delicious smell of the food you're cooking. So whenever you take the cooking action, the other players' customers go down by one level of satisfaction. Cards that you use to cook are discarded, and each customer that you feed when taking the cooking action gives you a point on that track. So this is in essence the idea. It feels a little laborious at the beginning, but actually it's pretty simple, which is you draw cards that may trigger Dino movements and Dino attacks, then one or more players may have to fend off the attack. Then player will spend action to collect technologies, which they use to collect food, which they use to form sets that they can cook, which they use to feed the customers and score points. And this is how you play Dino Diner. Dino Diner, I like how much my daughters like it. In particular, Amelia, the 10-year-old. Louisa didn't like it all that much. She didn't like getting attacked by the dinosaurs and having stuff taken away from her. So that didn't work so well. But the 10-year-old really, really enjoys the game, and she's also fairly good at it. And again, it's good. I'm happy to play it with the kid who is happy to play it. Per se, I don't know that it's a game that I would play very often at game night with adults. It's just, there's something, I don't know about it. There's nothing terribly wrong, I would say. With the exception maybe of if you play with two players and you're both very close to victory, that is, you both need to just score one point to win the game. Well, if I don't score it, I'm the first player, and you score it, then you win because you're the only player that reaches 7 points. Then I'm forced to play it. I don't really have anything else to do, and you're going to score that too. And then basically we already know when we're going to go to the tiebreaker, and the tiebreaker then it's about other resources, and so it feels a bit random that way. So sometimes I would say the end game can feel a bit anticlimactic because it's clear exactly what players can do, and there's only one thing that they should be doing to get a chance, or at least tying, because if you don't do that one thing, which is to score the last point, the opponent does it. I would say that's maybe the only negative really from the point of view of the design. Other than that, it's not that there is a negative really, it's just that the game to me was, I don't know, it just was missing something that gave me the little tingling down the spine. And maybe the fact that you have to draw 7 cards twice every turn because then the line is discarded and you do it again is also logistically a little bit annoying because you're just taking 3 actions, which are sometimes very simple. Doom, doom, doom. But there is some excitement when it comes, of course, to the cards that make to the line that will generate the dinosaurs. But again, I feel like reading in the rulebook, oh, the dinosaurs will advance, they will attack you, etc., etc. Everything from the rulebook, from the general premise, just feels like it should be a little more exciting than it is. Again, I can't really point out or criticize too much why it isn't that I didn't like it more. I didn't dislike it. Again, I enjoyed playing it with my daughters, but somehow it just felt, I don't know, average. And again, this conclusion will have to be a little bit like this, a little bit vague, because it's not a bad game if you like dinosaurs and cavemen and dinosaurs attacking cavemen and food and diners. The zaniness of the topic enough should be enough, maybe. But then it isn't. So it's not a bad game. It's not a bad game. It's just not a game that in today's game culture market, with the offers that we have out there, there are just so many games at the same level of complexity that just have a little more bite to them. Maybe it's because ultimately the range of choices is not all that great. It's not all that large. You do need to cook always in a certain way because all the meals have the certain requirements. You need to have those units, etc., etc., etc. So the game is simple because of that, but also feels very railroaded, and ultimately that's, I guess, maybe the one flaw that prevents it from being more fun and more exciting than it is.